Okay, so I'm back. Sorry about that. I got it off. Sorry. Smoke a little marijuana. I have nerve damage from breast cancer, so I opted for smoking marijuana compared to pain pills. Yeah, big pharma. But anyway, all right. So at this point, I was in this chair for way too long. Got out of it. And at the same time, my grandmom spent a lot of money. She found us because she was promised that she would still be able to see me and my sister, and that didn't happen. She never heard again from him. So she found him and took him to court. We ended up going to court, and because my sister wasn't his biological daughter, my mom was able to get her back, but not me, because I was his biological daughter, and it was really kind of just, it was messed up. But anyway, so at this point, my sister's gone. I end up with two more sisters from my stepmom. I have a younger sister and then an even younger sister. So, but anyway, it wasn't too bad from that time period, but it wasn't great. My stepmom promised that I would be in tap dance and classes, gymnastics, was it tap, dance, gymnastics, just because I love to dance, and they knew that. So, they weren't able to actually get me, but, so at this point, I became the little mommy for my younger sister Shannon. Now, Erin, she was a baby. So, my father, I ended up catching him cheating, like literally cheating on my stepmom. I was like, oh my God, you gotta be kidding me. But I got in trouble because I went to get something to drink. I wanted water, and caught him and this woman, like, kind of, you know, in a compromised position. But anyway, so I don't know where my stepmom was with my sisters, but she came back and she had me. He wasn't around, so I don't know what was going on, but I was little. I was like 5 at this point. No, I'm sorry. Forgive me. Because I was even in the Little Miss Seaford pageant, because we ended up living in Seaford after that. And I was runner-up, number 2 for Little Miss Seaford, so it's kind of cool. But they were getting a divorce, and I didn't know at the time, but I just know she came to me and said, you need to go hide in the bedroom, lock the door behind you. And because they had it reversed, like they would lock me in the bedroom, but for some reason it was flipped. So she had me lock the room. Said, doesn't matter what happens, don't, sorry, my eyes hurt. I'm tired. I'm exhausted right now. Trying to figure out how to do these videos and how to like do all this is like really hard for somebody that's not technology savvy and really familiar with just with technology. But anyway, here I am. But anyway, so I heard him come in, and the door was locked, and my stepmom's like arguing with him, and he was determined. He was taking me whether anybody liked it or not. So I think he beat her a little bit. I'm not positive, but it was just crazy. I was scared. I'm like kind of rolled up in the corner on my bed and like, oh my God, what's happening? So he broke in the door and he grabbed me up, and I remember he had like an army green duffel bag and was throwing my clothes in there. I just turned 7, so because this was like September of 77. Yeah, I had turned 7. So I don't know. He grabbed me up, duffel bag, threw my clothes in there, and just picked me up and took me. It was like late at night, so I was like freaked out, half scared. You know, I was a little girl. So he put me in the car, and I didn't know at the time, but we were headed to North Carolina. I was like, okay, this is crazy. But anyway, we were on our way to North Carolina, and there was rumors. I'll say rumors because I can say for a fact that it was true. that the Seaford National Guards was robbed that day. They were robbed. They were robbed of their petty cash, and they were robbed of some guns, and they were robbed of, sorry, hold on a second. They were, sorry, they were robbed of, like, it was just rations, some World War II items, like, and I saw this stuff later as a young girl, but anyway, he didn't do it, right? But anyway, he takes me to North Carolina. We end up in Willow Springs, North Carolina. And I'm very tired, so forgive me for being kind of like, and I have chemo brain. I went through a lot of treatments. Stage 4 invasive breast cancer at the start of 2020. So anyway, we'll just talk about that later. But so we're on our way. We get to North Carolina, and it's a little trailer. It's a little 2-bedroom. You walk in, it's a little room to the right, so that's where I was. And you go in, there's a little living room, a little kitchen, and then a back bedroom in the bathroom. So, okay. So, unfortunately, this is where the real bad abuse begins. He thinks that touching his own child is normal. And me just being like a month into 7 years old, your mind, everything you're taught or showed or told is what you believe. That is your learning years. That's when you absorb like a sponge. So that's why I'm like going to be reflecting back on what's going on in society today with these young people and these people in college. Everything they were taught and learned, they absorbed, and they think that's what's true. That's what it is. That's how it is. And there is no other anything. Okay. So keep that in mind, and we'll get to that later. But anyway, he's doing things to me that no man should ever do to a child, let alone your own child, your own baby. Oh my God. So there was a capias put out on him because what was happening was there was a papers for custody filed in court by my stepmother, and my biological mom was brought into it at the same time. So they both were filing for custody. Apparently my stepmother thought my biological mother would have a greater chance of getting custody of me than her, so they figured they'd both try. So that was cool. Thank you. They both tried. They tried hard. So this judge in Delaware, they had a capias out on him. There was a state trooper who arrested on small charges a couple of his military buddies, and found out, oh, my port's bothering me, found out where he had taken me. So they went to North Carolina, and they come knocking on the door. Well, when they knocked on that door, at that very moment of time, he was molesting me. He was doing things that he should have never done. And he had drugs. He was in Japan when I was little, so he had this tray, like it was a sewing kit. It was like yay deep, and then it had a lid, and he liked that lid. He liked to roll his joints and put his drugs on that lid. And then he had this big green bong that he had until the day I left. But anyway, we'll get to that later too. But so the police knock on the door. He dresses me very quickly, puts this tray and the bong into the bedroom, puts it on the little dresser I had in there, and comes in, and he had dressed me very quickly. So the police come in and they arrest him, but he convinced them not to put cuffs on him in front of me. Okay, no cuffs. No, it's a child. Like she would be traumatized. I'm her daddy. Yeah. Okay. Such a con artist. But anyway, they opened that door and looked at that tray. They knew what was put in my room, in this little room, but they closed it, and he convinced them, I don't know how, but I was taken next door. I don't know who these people were. I was, they were strangers to me. So, I'm a traumatized kid. Like, I have no idea what's going on. And, so they take him, and he is gone. Like, I don't know what's going on. Then the next thing I know, his new girlfriend, which I actually caught before the kidnapping is what I call it. I caught him and this woman who ended up being like my adoptive mom. She kind of raised me from there till I was 16. But anyway, so she comes and gets me. We leave Willow Springs, North Carolina, and we go to Raleigh, North Carolina, in this house. It's out in the middle of nowhere, and I do second grade there. I believe it's, yeah, second grade. He comes back, and he tells me as a child, a little girl, that this is being done because he wasn't doing anything wrong. This is what daddies do, and I belong to him. He owns me. Like, I heard this over and over and over and over and over again, that I was owned. I was owned by this man. And I later learned by the court documents that when he got back to Delaware, that the judge granted him temporary custody. Temporary custody. Now, you just kidnapped me. You kidnapped a little girl because you knew a child custody hearing was coming into play. So, really? Like, are you kidding? Or are you kidding me? So, I don't get it. I just don't get it. But, so I spent a year in North Carolina, and there was a weird experience there too. A little boy trying the cornfield to molest me, across the way. Like I said, I was in the middle of nowhere, like in Raleigh, North Carolina at this point. So a year later, we come back, and we move in next to my adopted mom's parents, who I loved. So this is like my fourth set of grandparents, and I loved every one of them. I miss every one of them with all my heart. I wish I could just hug each one of them. But we come back and we go to court, and it's the biggest custody hearing I think they've ever had, downstate Delaware, 1978. And over 20 some people testified against my father. National Guardsmen, teachers, family, neighbors. So all these people testified against him. The only ones that testified for him were three: his new girlfriend, her best friend, and his sister. And I didn't even know my aunt at that time. I just didn't. So we go to court. I'm told that, they said because I was so young that we needed to, I was to go into the judge chambers alone, and that way I could confidentially say what I needed to say. So we go into these chambers, and this judge tells me, it doesn't matter what you say to me, it's confidential, I'm not going to tell anybody, it's between you and me, you're safe. Okay. So he says, do you want to live with your father? I said, no. And he said, why? I put my head down. I don't know. I don't know. And right there, that's red flags. And he said, well, who do you want to live with? I said, my mom's. One of my moms. I want to live with my mom. Why? I don't know. So he says, okay, that's all. Man, we're good. We're going to go back. So we get back out there, and I'm not in this courtroom at this time. Like, they cut me out. Do you know this judge announced to the entire courtroom that I didn't want to live with Alan. I didn't want to live with my father. And he didn't know why, but he'd had me for this long, for this past year, that he's going to give him custody. My mother and my stepmother were to get every 2 weeks, off and on, like rotate, visitation. I never saw my stepmom again, like till years later, and my sisters. And then my biological mom, she came to get me on Christmas, I think it was Christmas Eve. And they were 15 minutes late, but I didn't know that. I had done housework and chores to earn money to buy my little brother and little sister, which were my mom's 2 kids after that, all that. A little truck for my brother and a little tea set for my sister. I was so proud of myself, and I waited with my coat on at that door waited and waited and waited. And they didn't show up. So my father conveniently, we go to my grandparents, which became the ritual after that. Every year on Christmas Eve, we would go upstate Delaware to Newcastle County and go to my grandparents. And I'll be honest with you, I was just beside myself. Like, I was crying, and my father wasn't allowing that. He literally beat me on Christmas Eve for crying because my mom didn't show up and I wanted to see my siblings. So that night at my grandparents', this is what I was. That's Christmas Eve. And that became my personality for many years following. So we're going to stop here. I'm exhausted, and I will continue this tomorrow. And it gets worse and gets crazier. But with that being said, thank you for listening and bearing with me, because this is very hard, very, very hard for me. I'm not good at like talking about my life and what happened, and to just continue on and go into the future of how it played out. People are going to be a little shocked, so be ready. But anyway, have a great night. Good night.